One last one. Let's take a look at secant of negative 540. Well, first of all, I don't actually want to find secant. I want to find the main trig function it actually links up with. So we want to eventually find secant of negative 540. But instead, I'm actually going to find the reciprocal first. So instead, find, well, what is secant the reciprocal of? Well, we know that cosecant matches up with sine because the two cos can't go together. So that means secant matches up with cosine. So we're going to actually start by finding instead cosine of negative 540 first. And then we'll go from there. So, first of all, the angle is negative, which means we'll be going clockwise, not counterclockwise. So we'll start at our x-axis and work our way clockwise instead of counterclockwise because it's negative. So if we go one full revolution, we end up at 360. We actually want to end at 540. So the question is, where is 540? Well, let's see. Adding, another, we're at 360 right now. Adding another 90 would land us at, 450 degrees. So I'm not going to stop there. I'm not quite there. Adding one more 90 to get me here would land me at the 540. And again, because we're going clockwise, these should all be listed as negative. So we're going to land over here. So our point that we're going to be looking for is right here where we land, which is going to be negative 1, 0. So let's see how we're going to find out what cosine is. Well, remember, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, which adjacent is your x side, over your hypotenuse, which is your r side of your right triangle. So let's see what that ends up being. Well, according to this point, let's see, our x side is going to be, a negative 1. So we can fill out our x with a negative 1. I don't have r yet, so I would, if I really need that, which I do, I need to find it. How do you find r? You're going to find r by doing x squared, your Pythagorean theorem. X squared plus y squared equals r squared. So we've got our x squared, which is negative 1 squared, plus we've got our, our y, which is 0, which is also squared, equals now our r squared, which is the thing we're trying to find. Well, we've got that negative 1 squared is 1, and 0 squared is 0. So that gives us 1 plus 0, which is 1, which gives us that r squared is 1. So to actually find r, we would take the square root of both sides, which would give us that r equals the square root of 1, which is still just 1. And then we can plug that in. Is that our r equals 1? So what that gives us for cosine is negative 1 divided by 1, which is a negative 1. Okay, be careful, that is not what we asked for. We asked for secant of negative 540 degrees. Well, remember, secant is cosine's reciprocal, which means to take that number and flip it upside down. Well, then it might be easier to look at cosine in fraction form and just flip that upside down. So if you take the negative 1 over 1 and flip it upside down, you get 1 over negative 1, which is still, when divided out, a negative 1. So for secant, we also get -1. And that's our final answer. So this was a good idea for the A through problem E here, was to take a look at specific trig functions for the quadrantal angles where you land on an actual end of a quadrant or beginning of a quadrant. Continuing along, and this